Good evening. And if you're just tuning in and you're either watching or listening live, you're listening to 105.3 out of Mississippi on FM and 107.7 out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana to UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. And this is the Angel Rock. I see you all there waiting patiently. You know, I always got to do a little housekeeping first. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Lorilei Potvin. I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, as well as a registered nurse. I'm a budding animal communicator. I'm extremely well versed in near-death experiences, having had one as a toddler myself, and I've studied it professionally and personally for over 40 years. And I've also am extremely well versed in the paranormal. I always say I didn't go looking for it; it found me. And we shared our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Episode 9. It's called Demonic Hauntings. I think you can find it on YouTube, Netflix, and all of those things. You guys, I have a great guest for you. I'm going to go through the housekeeping, read her bio, and then we're going to jump right in. I see you, Miss Carrie Lynn and Kevin. I see all you. Will say hi. Don't worry, we will. I promise. If you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and family about us. We have multiple shows we stream daily, 7 days a week. And when we're not streaming live, the archive server kicks in and picks randomly shows from the 25 plus years this network's been around. So we really are streaming live 24 hours a day. And I got to give us all another little plug. So Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, who is the host of Spirit Switchboard, and you've probably seen the lovely Beverli Rhodes sitting next to me here on the screen, who's been on Carrie Lynn's show. It's Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've joining the boys at UPRN. So Friday night, the owner of the network, Joe Montaldo, has news on the flip side. So I'm joining him, Jay McNicholas, Michael Angley, and Sean Kelly. And then Saturday night, I'm still hanging out with the boys on the chat. That's at 7 p.m. on Saturday. So I hope you guys will join us over there. Please, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. This network actually does broadcast to every country in the world. So whoever's tuning in, we get people from all over the world, which is wonderful. If you want to watch us on TV, you can. We have a network TV channel on Roku. So you just go sign into Roku and you're going to type into the channel store, because I don't have a code for you. It's UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop down list. We're about the third or fourth one down, and you're looking for UFO, paranormal, and United Public Radio. And if you can't see us, you can't join the conversation like all these lovely people in the chat. So I'm going to tell you how to do that, because 80% of our audience is audio only, listening live. So you can join me on my Facebook profile under Lorilei Potvin, my YouTube channel, The Angel Rock with Lorilei Potvin. I'm on Instagram under The Angel Rock. I should check over there, make sure we're running over there. That's good. Also on my LinkedIn under the same name, Lorilei Potvin. We are on the network's Facebook channel, or a page, I should say, UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network, as well as we are streaming on their YouTube channel, the same name, and we are on Twitch. And we also are on Joe Montaldo's Rumble. I got to switch over finally to his channel. He's got a lot more people over there than me. So I'm going to read Beverli's bio. You guys have heard me talk about her many times, and one of her good friends, Azria. So hang on tight here. Beverli Rhodes is the author of The Horse Girl and the historical book Finding Your Cosmic Connection that details UFO encounters with beings off-world. She is an expert remote viewer with over 45 years of experience. Her remote viewing academy can be found at www.awakeningacademy.co.uk. It's also streaming across the bottom. You can also find her on TikTok under her name. Or is it under Awakening Academy, Beverli?
No, it's just under my name, just okay. Beverli Rhodes, yeah.
And you can find her on TikTok, where she shares predictions based on energy fields and frequencies. Beverli hosts her YouTube channel show. It's not, you're under somebody else now. It's not Sean, right?
No, it's not Sean. I am sharing at the moment. Big homie CC asked me to come onto his.
I'm sure we're going to be talking about him tonight.
We will.
Well, welcome. Should we say hi to everybody? Because once we get talking, I know what's going to happen.
Oh, goodness me.
You know what? I did forget to. I think I started to say it, and I forgot to say it, you guys. The reason why I brought Carrie Lynn Shellhorn up, I just reminded me. Thank you, Spirit. We are on 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays with Beneath the Hollow Moon, and we are talking about banshees this week and omens of
Ooh.
death. So it's going to be quite interesting.
Mm.
So I can't believe I forgot that. That was the main reason why I mentioned Carrie. Then, holy cow, Beverly, you brought a whole crew over here tonight. That's wonderful.
It's good. Hello, everybody. That's on the Jedi crew. That's good to see everyone there.
Flammarian Max says, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for that. We've got Chark LG. I think we've got Beverly saying hi to everybody. Jilsey Bob says hello. We've got Aquana. And I heard about you, Aquana, from Carrie Lynn. You are a fascinating lady. And you also brought her up too, Beverly.
Yes, she's quite something. She has an amazing connection with the swamp people and Bigfoot and all of these things, and she leaves goodie bags for them. And when we first met, we had a giggle because in South Africa I also used to leave goodie bags for the creature that used to come and look for food on the farm.
I'm going to be asking you about that because that sounds fascinating. We were talking before this show. We've got Cheyenne Blue saying hello. Keep going down here. Deanne Daly, I think. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. Mandy, I love that everybody's so kind to one another, says hello, so loving. And I just love when people do that in the chat. So thank you. You're all wonderful here. We got Kakariki Creation. Hi, it looks like it's all the locals hanging about. Let's see. I'm still going through here. Oh, we got Kevin. I call him by his muggle name, but it is the Sun Dragon. I do. So we got Connie Martins here saying hi. These are some of our crew that usually hang out regularly. And my dog's decided every show she's got to pop in and say hello. Are you coming to say hello? We got Mish. I always got to tease her. She's in Australia. She says, good day. Have we started? I always say she's in the future because it's Tuesday over there already.
Wow.
Vet Girl 84. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody. If I did, just say hi at the bottom. If I do, I'm scrolling through quickly here. Julia Evans, evening from the UK. Thank you for hanging out. Beverly's in the UK, so I know it's late over there. So I thank both of you for hanging around when it's late, hanging out with us. Got Carrie Lynn here. Hello, everyone. And let's see. She said she was popping in. I got to get that off the screen. Hang on. Gotta love the producing while you're talking, right?
Yeah, I do it a lot as well, so I can understand how much effort it takes. I think we've got
proud of you because I remember when I first watched you, you didn't want to really be involved in the tech, so I'm proud of you.
No, but Sean trained me. It took him a wee while, but he showed me do this, do that, press this, press that. And I made a few fluffs. I made quite a few, and I used to kill myself laughing. Yeah. But eventually you kind of work out what to press, where to press.
Yeah, and nothing's so bad that you can't go back and just start over if you have to. So Mandy says a fellow Canadian. Kirby's 100's here. Michelle Wilfong. Hello, Michelle. Let me see. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm scrolling.
Sherry Wynn.
Yeah, Sherry Madigan, I see.
And Sherry Wynn. And we've got Sherry Wynn as well in Florida.
Cool.
She's the forensic psychic detective.
Oh, that's something interesting I'd love to talk about. We got Vibration High 1981. I can hear my cat crying outside the door. I told her to get her butt in here before. We got Julie Jean Bassett. I always give Julie a huge shout out, you guys. If you're looking for an incredible animal communicator, she has helped me with some of my own animals. If you've got a pet that is doing things that you're like at your wit's end, you don't know what else to do, I'm telling you, she is your lady. I've also taken her animal communication course. She's also a shamanic practitioner, and I have had a life-changing session with Julie. I recommend her to everybody. Julie, please, you've got a new website now, and I didn't memorize it yet, so please type it in the chat for me, please. She's incredible, you guys, so check her out. She's also can do communicate with your pets across the Rainbow Bridge and human beings too, so she's quite talented. Let me see. Oh, Christopher James is here. Hello. Sorry, guys. We got a ton of people here tonight. Sherry Wynn. Is that who you were saying? Sherry Wynn,
That's
right?
Sherry Wynn. Yes, Sherry Wynn is the major forensic psychic detective, and she's worked some big cases. She's in Los Angeles, and I think I said that right. Maybe I didn't, but she's extremely good at what she does. And she's worked on some of the bigger cases, and she's gone to sort of the fire areas. She's going to have a book coming out at some point. I keep nagging her, but she's a clever cookie. Some of the things that she comes up with, I think, wow, look at you, you know.
Well, I'm a true crime person as well. Carrie
Ah.
Lynn and I, so you guys know, as a little sneak peek. I don't think she'll mind me saying this. Oh, Julie's also, I'm going to put this up here, you guys. I'm planning another beginner animal communication workshop coming up in June, so you guys don't want to miss it. It's incredible, honestly. And Sherry says, thank you. I am a true crime person. I follow it. And Carrie Lynn and I are talking about doing some shows on true crime cases with a paranormal element, like the Chris Watts house. I was talking to her yesterday, and she's going, what do you mean paranormal activity at the Chris Watts house? I go, oh my gosh, how do you not know about the crazy activity in that house? So we're going to be, that's not necessarily the case, but we're going to be talking about things like that. So,
well, then we must get together, because I'm launching a true crime with Bev Rhodes, which I had discussed with Sean Atwood a few times, and what we had wanted to do originally, but we won't be doing it on Sean's channel. We'll be doing it on my channel when it launches. Okay. And we're going to be having individuals that will come on, like Sherry Wynn, who's going to look at the forensic psychic detective side. But we're looking at the astrological side of.
I got someone for you. I was just thinking that.
The perpetrator, and we're looking at the victims, and we're then looking at we're remote viewing what happened 24 hours before the case happened. And then looking at what was the scene, so setting the scene, but then having a look as well with the soul plan with Tia, because Tia is a soul plan specialist who looks at and does transmissions and downloads. And if that soul plan says that person was not meant to go across on that day, she can then see in the soul plan what was that person meant to accomplish, and with them not being here, what would have happened, but also looking at the perpetrator. So we're looking at it from a very unusual point of view.
I have an astrologer for you that if you want to meet her, I don't know how I haven't met her in all these years. We've crossed the same paths. She was originally connected with Carrie Lynn. Her name is Joni Templeton Skinner. She does that with astrology, looking at the chart, what was built in there, what's around there for the crimes that they've committed. I am so excited for you about this. Nobody's doing this, Beverly. It'll be an incredible program, I'm sure, like a channel.
I hope so. And we've just had the artwork done, and we've just had the what do you call them, theme tuny thing, you know, so that you know when you start it up, it does the whole
intro, like the
thing.
intro?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, lovely technical person, me not. But yeah, it's that sort of thing. And I thought, wow, wouldn't this be great if we can all do swapsies and do on each other's channels? If you're doing true crime, we're doing it. It would be fab to see what comes up.
Oh my gosh, I'm super excited, but I want people to tell, if you wouldn't mind, if you tell them a little bit about you, because you're quite well known across the pond. But a lot of people haven't necessarily, at least my audience isn't, if you haven't heard of you. And like I said, I have been talking about you quite a bit on this channel as well as Azria. So can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
So I'm an author. I'm a practicing remote viewer. And I was the first person in South Africa to undertake an evening with Beverli Rhodes at the Super Bowl, which was unheard of in those days. And I mean, we are going back to the 80s. It's a long time ago. But it went out
the same age here.
that was a long time ago. So, and because it was in the 80s, it was around 87. And at that time, you know, people were used to having, you know, amazing stars coming from overseas. Now, Super Bowl had to fill the Super Bowl for one Saturday night. That's all they had. And they approached me and they said, would you consider taking on the Super Bowl and having an evening with Beverli Rhodes and doing a whole bunch of stuff, introducing them to meditation, to spirit, to remote viewing, to automatic writing, to automatic drawing, all these things. But it'll just be you on stage and nobody else with a few plants. And I said, well, yeah, what can go wrong? Yeah, a few plants, and that was it. So they had a T-shaped, which was coming up for, I can't remember who it was. It might have been one of the big R&B singers was coming out, and they had built the T stage. So I kept that because I had to. And then they put two big screens on either side, which were then broadcasting out to the whole of the Super Bowl. And then in the middle, they put loads and loads and loads of plants. And they refused to take down the mirror ball, which was in the middle of the stage. And I just said, if that thing falls down while I'm busy with all this energy, I want it written in, and I will sign it that you will not hold me responsible for that thing breaking, because
absolutely.
No, it's huge. And it looks small when it's up there, like 20 feet in the sky. But when you see it, it's huge. Just as well I did that, because the stupid thing started swinging in the middle of the show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no. And then Billy Ocean
said death by disco.
Yeah, that's it, the disco ball. And so I had Billy Ocean as the sort of the sound manager. He was just divine. And we did a lot of the tests, and I said to him, please watch that mirror ball, because I'm a wee bit scared of it, because it's it's like right above my head.
Well, I would be worried too. Like, and people may not understand, when you're working with energy, like everything's affected, not just breathing and living beings, right? It's everything around you. So I could definitely see that you'd be concerned about that.
I was concerned. Plus, I had no shoes on, because when I work, I don't have shoes on.
Right. I understand
that. And I thought, well, how am I going to run with no shoes on? But anyway, it's a long story. I won't bore you with that. And then what I did is I then wrote this really old book. This is an ancient book. This came out in 1990.
Ancient.
It's like, well, how many? 30 years ago or something. So this was one of the first Kirlian photographs that we did at the university, and I had to sit with my bottom on the steel plate. Was worried. Yeah, we did. Because the guy that took it, he said, look, he'd never really done much Kirlian photography before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's cameras for that.
and now there is. There wasn't in those days. I mean, this picture was taken in 1989.
Oh, yeah, that maybe not back then. Yes. Yeah.
Not that far back. And so he said, keep still. So we pinned down my necklace. And I had to keep perfectly still, because he when he was doing it, he took frame by frame.
Oh, did he?
And I just was worried that I was going to get bitten in my bottom with an electric shock.
And people are talking about your other book as well, The Horse Girl. Can you tell people a little bit about that and why you wrote that book?
Yeah, the Horse Girl was written because I needed to find a space that I could heal from the 9 years of problems with the how should we put them? The S ones,
We could say SRA. We could say SRA.
Can we? Okay. So
I'm going to say it. We'll see, but I think
I think we should be all right. I'm hoping. I just don't want to get anyone into any trouble. So the SRA 9 years that I was involved with that, very reluctantly, and I needed to find a way to explain what happened, the pieces that I remembered, and more importantly, the names and the faces, because I felt that there was never going to be any justice. And to this day, the perpetrators that caused all the harm, they became too old, and unfortunately, they've gone across, and they will never face justice. But the steamers, in other words, the ones that were utilizing the services and are minor attracted adults, they are still around, but there's still no justice. So I thought, well, worst way, it will explain the story from hate to hope to healing. And the Horse Girl is exactly that, because the reason why I started to remember was I was caught up in the 7th of July London attack.
I saw that too. I didn't know that about you before.
Yeah, I was just going to work. That's all. I was going to work in the city, and I used to live in North London, and with my partner, and I was just minding my own business, going to work like everybody else on the train, and then literally all hell broke loose.
I
And
remember when that happened. I
awful.
saw it wasn't live, but it was shortly afterwards.
Mm.
It shook the world when that happened.
It
Never
did.
heard of
Well,
something.
it was like a war zone. Honest to God, it was like a war zone. You couldn't see the smoke. The tunnels were completely filled with smoke. All you had was this pretty stupid little light, this little strip light at the top where the seats were. And unfortunately, because electric, when you're going along in the train, it goes fine as long as there's electric. But because of the blast, it stopped. So
Oh
of
my
course,
goodness.
no electric. It doesn't go and
Right.
stop slowly. It just poof. So everybody was just thrown
Oh,
forward. And I then connected the whole of my left side, smashed into the pole that you hold on to when you get
yeah.
out of the train, and then knocked myself out silly for quite a while.
Oh my
So I
goodness.
was out for the count. And when I woke up from that, this is when this little light was there, and everybody was sort of wailing and moaning and what have you. And I sort of sat up and looked at myself, and then I felt all this awful warmth in my face, and I thought, what is that? And I realized my teeth inside, all this jaw, the whole thing had become mobile. So nobody teaches you
No.
what to do, and I didn't know what to do. So
Mhm.
I just thought, okay, swallow, and then
Oh,
bite down on it and push your teeth back in and try to hold whatever was left of the jaw, hold it together. Wrong thing to do, because you've got the smoke and you've got the bits from, the tiles and all the rubbish that's
cut
in.
you all up on the inside,
Oh,
swelling
and
down.
it did. It went into the wound like a silly bunny, which then became all infected. But then
Oh,
as I was trying to stand up, I was pulling myself up the pole. There was this lovely guy, bless him. He then got his fingers into the door and he was trying to pull it open, and all you heard was all of his fingers breaking.
oh my
He
gosh.
says, I'll get us out. I'll get us out. I'll get us out. Don't worry. I will force these doors open. He was a big chap. He was a big chap. And then we kind of thought, well, actually, maybe we're not going to make it. So we all sat down, and then at the bottom of the floor, and we could more or less see each other. And I had that old flip phone, the pink one, the old flip phone. And we each had that. And we just said, well, obviously this is it. We might as well say our last prayers.
Oh my
And
gosh.
everybody just started praying. And
I
then it
I
took 45 minutes to come and find us.
I can't even imagine the trauma after that to the
Mm.
PTSD, never mind the physical healing, the emotional, the
Mm.
mental, I ca so how did you heal from that? Like, have you stayed in touch with some of these people that went through
I
this with
did. I did for about 15 years, because
you?
when they eventually came to get us out, there was some footage of all of us walking down the train line, and you can see me from the back, because I used to have a bob haircut, bob sort of haircut, a blunt bob haircut, and I was much thinner and I had the dark hair, and I was more worried about stepping on the mice, because they've got blind mice in the underground tunnels. They don't have tails and they can't see. They're blind. God bless them.
Oh,
But you can hear them going, ee, ee, ee. And I was just saying, we were all holding hands. Don't stand on the mice. Where the mice? Don't stand on the mice. So, yeah. And then what happened was, after I started, because my first operation on my jaw was on the 17th of August in 2005. But then just after that, the Home Office had called a lot of us to say, could you come to the Home Office and come and attend a meeting, because we need to understand, what are your needs, what are your medical needs, what are your insurance needs, what do we as a government, as an organization, need to do in order to make sure, because you were just innocent bystanders, you were
mm,
going to work, you're not soldiers.
mhm.
So I went to number 10 Downing Street, and I then said, this is what I suggest we have for all of us. And then, because I'm such a big mouth, a lot of the survivors then nominated me as the spokesperson for the survivors.
Okay.
So I ended up having to go to the Home Office a lot and
Whether
said,
you
listen,
wanted to or not, people wanted you to speak for them.
they just said, just see how you can help us. And because we're all struggling, we're all struggling with our health. We're all struggling with, trying to be able to eat. We all have complex PTSD. It went beyond just
Yeah.
PTSD. It was complex PTSD. But that was the start of the issue, because up until then, I wasn't aware of what had happened in
So
those
this
9
is what
years.
triggered your memories then is
This
what,
was the trigger. Yeah. Who knew? Big bang on the bonds and being left unconscious. That's what started it. So after I dealt for 2 days with the counterterrorism police, I dealt with them in the house, and they locked my partner out and said, "You're not allowed in here. We need her to identify the perpetrators, and we need to make sure certain things." And so after that was done, and I was booking for my surgery because they couldn't operate on me until the infection was gone for
right.
whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why, but they said,
I understand why.
okay, they just said, take the antibiotics, and the pain was unbelievable. So I wasn't getting much sleep. And then I thought these funny, horrible things that were coming to my memory, and me looking at my door in the room and seeing and watching for the footsteps and listening for the footsteps and waiting for the door handle to open. I thought I picked up a couple of attachments, a couple
Well,
of
I was thinking maybe you
even.
might have thought it was even the painkillers you were on, but wow.
No, and I realized it wasn't the painkillers because it was the same
Well,
thing.
I thought maybe to rationalize it. I believe you
Yeah.
what you're saying. This is,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what we see like with PTSD and things like this.
Mm.
Like I was talking to my audience will be familiar with Chris Lataro, and he didn't remember all these things. They had programmed
Mm.
him. He's a victim of MK Ultra and
Oh,
many
yeah.
other things, and they had programmed him to believe he had this wonderful Brady Bunch, lovely childhood. And then he
Mm.
started going through some things, and all of a sudden, the trauma got unlocked. I don't know if he had had an injury or not. Something in me thinks that he did. And he thought he was going crazy. And then he got regressed. He had hypnosis, like past, like regress backwards. And that's what unlocked the whole floodgate. So it seems like there's something that it's almost like it's that key to unlock it, isn't it?
It was. I can fully understand how he feels, because up until that time, although I wasn't able to remember everything about my childhood, I did not think that this had happened. I had thought he was the person that pretended to be my father was fine and he was okay, and that he was just away a lot because he was on the road, and that she, the one who brought me up, that she had nothing to, that she was just a mum at home looking after us as an artist. Never ever thought any of this, ever, not in the slightest at all. And I think that was some sort of a memory that they placed in there over those 9 years, that you will remember this is how you will perceive it, and just covered it up.
There's
And
our
that is
Joni. I'm just going to shout her out, the astrologist I was talking about.
it.
Joni, we got to tell
Ooh,
you what Beverly, or watch the beginning of the show, what she's talking about, what she's got coming up. And Carrie Lynn mentioned you, and so did I. I didn't mean to interrupt, and I
that's all
apologize.
right. Well,
Um,
Joni, I hope Joni would like to come on and do some of the astrology, because we've got a couple of cases that we want to look at as like testers to see, just to start the ball rolling. And I think that will be extremely interesting. The other one we do want to look at, which I'm commenting on a lot, is the Diddy Meister.
Oh, I'm
Mm.
following that. Yeah. And the
Mm.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And then there's another one that just slipped my mind, but there's been a couple I've been following. But well, let's put a pin in that for a minute, because I'd like for people to understand, like, and you're so humble, but you have been used by major, we'll say alphabet soup organizations with your remote viewing skills and your psychic abilities. When did that come into your lifetime?
That
Never mind what you've been through and you've shared already. My God.
that came in when I was in South Africa.
Mhm.
And I did one case in the UK as well. I did the theft of Shergar, the racehorse. I don't know if you would know, but I was involved in that
No.
considerably. Very, very, very valuable horse. So I was involved with that. And then when I was in South Africa, there was a couple of really awful, awful, awful cases The one down there was the Station Strangler. And that was a big one. And he was having a ball, and he was preying mainly on male children that he was picking up at bus stations and train stations.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the first one. So, and I managed to crack that one. And then there was another one where there were little young girls being taken. So there was another one that I worked on. So I very quickly became the go-to person, the go-to resource for the SRPF, for the South African Police Reserves, and for SONOP, which is the Serious Crime Unit. And then they were very, very lovely to me. And I was the only psychic operative to ever be featured in the official police magazine. Could you even think about it?
Because there's so much skepticism about what we do. It's getting better. Excuse me, but the fact that you were respected and included and treated well, it sounds like, by the South African police. That is a major coup. I'm going to say beautiful thing that you've accomplished. Really incredible.
And it was lovely because they knew I'm obviously just a civilian. I'm not a police officer. I'm not an army person or anything remotely like that. But they knew if I said to them something, they knew, follow this up, because they used to call me the little chickie. The little chickie knows what she's talking about, and just go and have a look and check what she's got, because you'll find what you need to find. And so we were working very closely together and doing all sorts of things that I never ever thought that I would be doing, and that my family at the time would absolutely sort of frown at me and say, "You're going what? You're going where? And you're going to sit in the footwell of a car while they have a gunfight?" Right, that's good. Cheers for that. Maybe not. And then I worked on the Helderberg case, which was a crashed plane, and they came and they said that. And this is after I had a show on one of the radio stations, and I'd been on there quite a bit. And they said, everybody was saying, the Helderberg has gone down. Just get Beverly to go and find it, because she can find it. Go and get it. And they did. They came like 3:00 in the morning, sent this blackened vehicle surreptitiously, and knocked on the little house door and said to my ex, can Beverly come? Can she come?
Beverly come out to play at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, and he was like, that the children are sleeping, and I said, no, I've got to do this. There's all these passengers, families, and the phone never stopped ringing. Please go out. I need to know if my husband or my wife or my child is alive or whatever. So I said, I'll go with them, and I will find it, and I did find it, which is good. We've got Azria. The pink lady.
Hi, Azria. Azria's coming on the Interact too. And then we got Beverly wasn't supposed to come on until August. And then we had a little chat behind the scenes. And I'll let you know, we're still keeping her August date. We might just be having a little party with a bunch of people like us on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun, everybody. Lots of fun. So, oh my gosh. So you were able to locate the plane, obviously.
Yes, I did. I found it on the ledge, and it was actually quite exciting, because we went up in a Hercules aircraft at the airbase, and they basically just said, we're going to go out to where we last heard the ping, whatever, and will you then direct where you think it is and how deep it is and what you can see? So I did. And there it was. And they found the bits, which was sort of on the edge, teetering on that side. And then they were able to, next day, they had a nautique, which was a little French stubby type thing. And they took it down and went and had a look with some very brave people that can manage to go under the water in a bubble thing. Crazy. And they found it. They got the black box. They brought it back up. And then what I did is I RV'd what was said in the cockpit, and I gave them an envelope, which I do a lot, gave them an envelope, and I said, I've had a copy of it, and I said, this is what was the last transmission that was said from your pilots, and this is what caused the issue in the cargo hold. And it was exactly right.
I know how accurate you are. And the same thing, Azria, we haven't forgotten about you. Believe me, in August, I just haven't had a chance to talk to you, because Beverly and I sort of chit-chatted about it just before we went live. And Shark, is it Chark LG says, I think Beverly has lived 20 lifetimes in one all. I think so too.
That's Charlene. Charlene is one of my mods, along with a couple of the others. So we've got quite a few that are in the chat at the moment, which is absolutely great.
Well, we talked about this before because I know, and you know your audience, but my audience has been very fascinated when we talked about remote viewing. Now, I have taken a remote viewing course. I kind of didn't really get deeply into it. I've always wanted to get more into it. And I believe that I get hits with remote viewing, but not controlled in the way that I can see what I want to see. I know Carrie Lynn's a very good remote viewer, but can you explain to people maybe a little bit about it? And I think you have a little game that we can play with everybody.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. Well, the first thing to know about remote viewing is there's no right and wrong answer, because where you obtain the information from, there's no time. But also, if you believe that you can remote view using all of your extra senses and extra sensory perception, you can remote view. You've got to believe that you can, because then you will be able to.
So remote viewing, it's dipping into the universal consciousness. Is that how you would explain it? Or do you have a much, I feel you have a much better explanation than how I just explained it.
I think what it is if you can imagine the information and data, images, numbers, whatever it is, views of things running in a fast flowing stream, and you just dipping your finger in or dipping your wee toe in the water.
Okay.
And then you're just pulling out what you're getting. Because remember, when we do the remote viewing session, we literally take 6 minutes. That's it. We don't bother anything past 6 minutes. We don't do that. We just do 6 minutes, and then that's it. And if we find that the conscious mind is tick, 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 and because it does, it moans and it groans and says, oh, you can't do this. You just keep it quiet. You take your pen and you do lots of little circles. So give the conscious mind something else to do. Let it focus on drawing circles or whatever you like. Circles is the easiest because the pen can just carry on by itself and have lots of fun. And then what's coming in from the other side, that's what you want. But 5 minutes at a time is more than enough. And you just do boom, 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 boom. So emotions, colors, senses, smells, hot, cold, rainy, sunny, etc. Just general things. And then try to draw something that you're seeing. So something from the target. Everything has a target. So that is a particular one. If you're doing a solo, you would do S, which means solo. And you're not going to do anything where you're sending yourself out of your body, because that's called a co-located. So that is taking it's more advanced. So you're taking your energetics, you're pushing it out of your body, and you're going to the place of the target. The easiest one, the first one, is just to go into the stream of energy and the data, go in, hook in, grab it, bring it down. That's it. That's all you need to do to start off. And you need to just believe no right or wrong answer at all.
We've got a question for you from Kevin, who's the Sun Dragon. He says, if you're chatting with someone and you can visualize and describe the room they are in detail, is that remote viewing?
Yes, it is.
Good question, Kevin. So
good question.
Do you have to get into, so the way I was taught, he's no longer alive, unfortunately. It was Dr. Chuck Kennedy. And they had a pretty, do you know him?
No, I hadn't heard of him.
He had a doctorate in nursing, and they had a pretty high success rate. I think he said, I had him on the show. I'm going on 6 years on this network. So it was one of my first shows on this network. And he was saying, I think he said 93.6% success rate. But what they did is he would be the person where all the information would come in, and he had certain teams that were really psychic. Like he was very stressed. He stressed a lot. You do not have to be psychic to be a remote viewer. So then he would have other ones that were very good at remote viewing, and so on and so forth. So say something came in, like I know he had talked about, they were trying to find this girl that was missing, and it was a race against time because the remote viewers had located not only her, but 100 other children in a shipping container. So he was the one that had the contacts with police forces, they did get there. Had they got there 20 minutes later, the ship would have been gone. The children never would have been found. So I did take his course, and I never went out of body, but that's what he taught us to get into. He had like a 5 or 10 minute meditation to get the brain into theta waves, like that certain receptive. So I'd love to hear, is that something that you work with people with when you teach them remote viewing, or how do you get people to relax?
Well, I don't get them into the theta wave, because that you would need for the co-location, for being out of your body. Yes, you will need to be in your theta waves for that. But just to test yourself, to stretch yourself a bit, it's fine for you to put your feet flat on the floor, ideally without any socks or shoes on. That's ideal, because you need a nice, good, solid grip to the floor. And then just allow yourself, because really when we start with it, we're just testing the space. We're testing to see if we can go up into that river, grab the little bit of energy, pull it down, and pick up what it is. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so do you want to walk people through then how the little game?
So in my hand here, I have written a number on the palm of my hand just for today, which is a number between 1 and 5. Now, this number here has been in the stream of energetics and in the stream of data around the world. It's been up there. When you and I first met, I said, we're going to have a bit of fun. I'm going to put it up there so that it's already been there. I'm a very strong sender. I can send things miles, so that's no issue. It is up there. So to participate,
guessing.
People, you're not allowed to do it. I haven't sent it yet, you naughty little sparrows. They're too funny. So those of you that are not in my RVQ and you RVers that are mine, stop showing off. So I told you it would be fun. So there it is. It's in here. So everybody, come on. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then write it in the chat. That energy is there. Energy is there. No wrong answer. The first thing that comes into your mind. And I can see there's lots of people changing their mind. Don't change your mind. Guys, girls, don't change your mind. Zam. Right. Ready? We ready? Are we going to reveal? Are we? Ready?
We got lots of numbers. Yep. 4. That's why I was laughing, because I knew the number. Kevin got it right away, and he's not part of your review.
So clever. There you go.
So
that's how much fun it is, and that's how quick it is just to go up, catch it, and come back.
Don't get the right number, though, because I'm going to tell you, I very psychic, but I'm very clairaudient. I hear. And I'm never good at like the Zener test where it's the cards. I always never get those things right. And some people didn't get the right answer. So what can we tell them to encourage them?
Well, what I would do is, unfortunately, I had to choose a number because it was easy to write on the palm of my hand with pen. But I could have chosen one of the Zen cards, and I could have chosen, a circle, or I could have chosen the wavy lines or the triangle, whatever. So this is the difference. Some of the people that are with me on a Friday, which is a free session on Friday night, what we're doing is we're using postcards, and we're using very easy things like cards of a beautiful lake or a nice mountain scene. Very easy. No animals, no people, no nothing. Very easy to pick up, whether it's hot, whether it's cold. There we go. Musco Creek numbered. Well done. Thank you, Aquana. So yeah, it was a number 4. So from that point of view, we do very easy ones to train the mind so that you know that when it plops in at the back, that is what is coming from the amazing energy data river that's up there that you've pulled down. And that's easy. So those that didn't quite get it right, then go and start taking a box, a shoe box, anything like that, or even just an envelope, and ask someone in your family just to put a couple of, postcards, easy ones, and just put them into them, give them a target number on the front, and go and hide it somewhere in the house, and then take that target number, and then next to that, just concentrate on that target number, because you won't really know what's in there because your family members or friends or whoever has done it. and then go through the usual things. What are the emotions? What colors? What are the common colors? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it rainy? Is it snowy? All those things. Can you see water? Can you perceive water? And draw water, like little water globules. Is it raining? Draw little droplets for rain. Is it sun? Draw the sun. Little things like that. Can you perceive a little tiny housey in the background? All those sort of things. And then take that envelope, open it up, and then tick all the hits that you've got. So numbers are not the easiest to do. We've got a couple of RVers in my group, in the Alliance, that work on active cases. And one of them you're having on your show, Azria. She is brilliant at picking up numbers, number plates, house numbers, which floor they're being held on, because we only specialize in finding children. That's our specialty. We don't do anything else.
That's why I took the course, because I have been a victim of not SRA, but something that little children should never have been a victim of at the age of 4.
Oh, Lord.
And I had the same thing, had put it out of my mind, and all of a sudden, over the last probably 15 years, started getting flashbacks of things, right? But I've always felt, now I know why I've always felt very passionate, even as a nurse. Anything done to children, like, I've just been very, very passionate about children. And that's why I took Dr. Kennedy's course, because I wanted to be able to help children. So I love that you are doing that. Love it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Why do I keep getting trees and forest and that when you said that? I don't know what that means, but that came straight in.
Well, weird. I know who the perpetrator was, and I haven't quite got a location of where it happened, but I wouldn't be surprised, because where I live, it's a very mysterious kind of place, actually. I'll mention it to everybody listening. So I live in Canada, and I live in a town called Thunder Bay, a city. If you've ever watched David Letterman, Paul Schaefer, his musician, he's from Thunder Bay. Kevin, I always forget his last name. He's been in a bunch of action movies. It's not a Quinn, it's something like that. If I look it up, I'll find it. He's been from here. But if you're going from one side of Canada to the other, you have to come through our city. Because I'm right on the biggest of the Great Lakes. I always say it almost looks like a wolf head, but with no ears. And we're right on the shores of Lake Superior. We have every kind of paranormal, strange that you could possibly think of. Tons of trees. It's absolutely beautiful. Tons of First Nation, Ojibwe legend, the legend of Nanabiju. There is a rock formation laying out in the lake of Lake Superior. It looks like a giant man laying down in one of the world's largest untouched silver mines. And it says that Nanabiju actually guards that mine. And anybody that's tried to access it really has lost their life. And then on the other side of the city, we have, it's like Little Niagara Falls, but it's called the Legend of Kekabeka Falls, not the legend. And that is intertwined with the giant. So we have UFOs. I have caught things on UFOs. Jean Bassett can back me up, because one night I caught one when she thought she caught something with the full moon. We've Bigfoot, dogmen. I've had a crazy paranormal haunting, many other people, anything you can think of. And we are actually, where we're located, there's lots of amethyst all around naturally, in an amethyst mine. We are on shale, so you cannot get true north with a compass. So I don't know.
That explains it. So Lake Superior, this was a weird thing. I can't tell you which agency it was, but the task that we were given for the target was, there was 3 targets that we were asked to have a look at. And one of them ended up being a beautiful lake, and with beautiful trees and different colors and things and reds, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But what they were interested in is this lake that they said was the ones that we saw that there was a dome at the bottom of the lake, and that there was people, I use the term loosely, people off-worlders that were utilizing it as a base to transfer through, because it was easy access to palladium, and guess what? Silver. Guess which lake that was?
Lake Superior.
Yeah.
I would not doubt it. There's like a mini Bermuda Triangle. I was never a fan of we didn't have many Canadian artists back in the day, but there was Gordon Lightfoot, and his most famous song was the something of the Edmunds Fitzgerald. And he's talking about this ship that mysteriously crashed in the middle of Lake Superior. And there's been many things, sinkings. There's been lots of strange stuff in the middle of the lake. So I don't know what's in there or what.
You know what's a really good thing to do? If it's, I don't know how close it is, I get a feeling it's quite close to you. But universal law, Galactic Federation law, and all of these other areas, if you stand on that lake and you say, I command you, because that's in the law of the universe. If you command anything to show themselves, they have to.
Really?
The universal law, no matter what planet you're on. And that goes for any other creepy crawlies, like, you know, the demon ones. Them,
I have a story with I was just talking to Carrie Lynn about this today. I've never talked with her about it. I've always been very intuitive, had high strangeness around me. When between 7 and 8, we moved to a brand new house. And every night I knew nothing of the paranormal. We'll get to that. I'm going to put a pin in this for this question here.
Okay.
Anyways, I would wake up every night at 3 a.m. unable to breathe. Like something was choking me. Every single night. I was terrified to go to sleep. I can remember I'd wake up. I couldn't get a breath in, couldn't get a breath out. I would completely lose consciousness, and there was no 111 over in the UK or 911 here. So my father would scoop me up, bring me in the car, get about a block away, and I'd be able to breathe. They finally diagnosed me, they said, with asthma and gave me medication, but I'm a nurse. I know what asthma looks like. Both my boys had asthma, and I'm telling you, it was not asthma. And a demon came to me, or claimed to be, in a dream about 15 years ago, trying to tempt me in my sleep to follow him for ridiculous things of wealth, fame, anything beyond my wildest dreams. It's not radio friendly, but I told him in the dream. Finally called on Archangel Angel Michael to rid him, but he told me his name, told me his animal form, told me everything, and I found it 5 years later, everything it told me, and all heck did break loose in my house.
Oh, it does. They don't like it too much, but the good thing is Archangel Michael, you know, what they do is they just touch them on their foreheads and they go, and they turn to dust.
Let me tell you, that was crazy, that story, but it's not about me. Thank you, Julie. I always forget to do the station ID because I get so excited. Talking to my guests. So you guys, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Angel Rock Live. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. This beautiful lady next to me is my amazing guest, Beverli Rhodes. And we are on UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. You can listen to us on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM on the Gulf Coast out of the US, I will say. So we did have a question. Because
from Kate. Now, a little bit about Kate, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying this. But Kate Snyder Sterling is part of my professional demon hunter group that operates across all over the world. We've got an operative in South Africa, an operative in Australia, and we've got 4 operatives that cover all of the United States. And Kate is one of the operatives in America who's a professional demon hunter.
Wow. So how often would you run into something like this then? Or is it, I got to let my cat in. I never get up. I can hear you, but she's screaming. So just hang on.
Go ahead. That's fine. So we run into them weekly. We get some really awful ones. But I see, Kate, you're saying, I've heard you talk about the bilocating or co-locating to remote view. Is that always the technique you use? So it is my technique of choice. Oh, look at her. She's so cute.
She wanted to, she was screaming. I've never heard her do this. She was screaming outside the door.
Well, it's two Leos on the screen all at once. So, you know, this is it. She's got to say hi to all the Leos. So, yes, hello, girlie. You're so
Her name is Stephen Nicole. My son named her. So she's a little monkey.
She's lovely. She's so cute. She's so cute.
Well, thank you. So she, so she was asking, do you have other methods besides bilocation?
I'd mainly do the co-location, And because it's easiest for me, because I've been doing it for like 45 years now, so it's my go-to. I have been trained in other methods, but that's the easiest one for me, because I can just at random I can just zip out and go and do stuff and then come back, because it's for literally 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes, because there's no time anywhere where that big stream is that's got the data and the information. You can just go up there, collect it, and come back. Or if you want to co-locate and go and look at something like, something that's underground, or, have a look at where, well, let's say where children are being held, or where the next auction is going to happen on a Wednesday, where they auction off these kittywinkles. It's easy enough to do. And that's what we do. And that's how we manage to bust them most of the time. So
are you able to work with law enforcement? Sorry, I should have told you this ahead of time. I have a bit of a delay, so it'll seem like a pause. So I apologize if I start talking over you.
That's okay. Yes, we do work with law enforcement. We work with a lot of the agencies, and most of the agencies now are familiar with our work. And if there's something that we find out, we will either get it translated into the language of the country of choice that we're working in, or there will be those that automatically negotiate with the agencies on our behalf, and we give it to them. Okay. So Big Homie CC, he is.
You're reading my mind, Beverli, because I was just going to ask you to talk about him.
He's our boots on the ground man. He is. I mean, what he doesn't know about weapons and how to get in and what to do. He has a huge team. He's highly respected and very well trained. And, he knows his stuff, and he is, he's all about the children and saving the children and saving women that have had a really difficult time. And he will, if we say to him, and for him, he's realized over this period of time, he's realized that, we love Big Homie too. Mm-hmm. He's realized that it gives him an extra space for extra time, because we save him time.
Mm-hmm. No, I remember when he met you on Sean Atwood's channel, because like I said, I was watching regularly. I was telling everybody about you and his channel. I followed Sean. I found him years ago when I'd hurt my back as a nurse, and TV gets old quickly. But I remember watching the show. My children were little, and he was on that show, Locked Up Abroad. And there was something about his story that just really touched me. And I remember looking into it and then finding his YouTube channel. So I followed him off and on for a long time. And then when I saw you on there, and then when Big Homie came on, I'd never heard his name. And you guys, he was just on, if you don't know, Piers Morgan. You can watch the interview on YouTube. But the other thing I have to mention is when Azria did, I'm not going to say it properly. It's not his physical genetic DNA, but it's can you please explain it to people what she does so I don't screw it up for her?
That's all right. Yes. He was very keen to understand, because if you remember, Homie had, there was a code red that we had with Homie where he had been compromised, and they were trying to take him down because he had a value of certain amount of money on his head, and they were going to take him out. So we had a code red that came in, and he was literally man down, and I had been deployed to go and get him out and to stop him from going any further. So I'd already pushed him back to where he needed to be and said to him, come with me, and pulled him out. And what had happened was he then wanted to know, because
was he in a coma though, Beverli? I couldn't figure out what had happened to him, or was he just kind of like psychologically locked down? Was that what
he was? He had what they do sometimes is when they hurt you to that degree, your body shuts down and you go inside yourself and you sit to the side. You can see what's going on, what's going on, but your vitals, and if you do your observations, your obs are really low. And this is what had happened to him. And they knew the only person that could reach him would be me, because I could bypass all that.
He talked about that. He talked about that on that show, about where he was, and he could faintly hear you. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm fascinated. I'm so glad to get the story from you. Please continue.
So I just kept on calling to him, and I walked towards him, and I started pulling the essence. So big Homie CC then had gone through that, and when he was cleared from the hospital, he said to me, can you ask Azria to do my alien DNA
Thank
transmissions
you.
so that I can see who is walking with me and what is in my body and what my original coding is from the original, the galactic individuals that were part of this beautiful planet that brought various species to our world in order to help the world to grow. He said, because I saw some really strange things while I was, in between worlds, and I need to know what is it, because I want to make sure that I use all of the abilities that have now woken up in me. So we got Azria to have a good look at him and get a direct transmission, which is part of the fragment. So she doesn't do channeling. She just does a transmission, and then she wrote it.
Yeah, was that she ran into, I believe, a race that you guys hadn't encountered before, right?
Yes, that's right.
Like you'd never, and I remember you described, I was so excited that you're telling this story. Sorry, I had to cut in there because I was, and you could tell, and I've talked about, like I said, both of you, and told people you need to check this out on when it was on Sean Atwood's channel, because you could tell by Big Homie. We'll tell you a little bit more about Big Homie in a sec, because I seen that Mish said she didn't know who he was. You could tell by his face, like this guy is like, what, 6'6", probably like a wall of muscle.
He is
gentlest, most intelligent speaking man you've ever heard. I wouldn't mess with him though. But my whole point is, when you watch him get the results, and it was live, he was blown away.
He absolutely loved it. He is a gorgeous being, and he's just so wonderful in the work he does. Whenever I end up having a discussion with him, he's usually downstairs in his gym, and I see the size of the weights that he's pushing, and I think, oh my goodness me, are you actually going to lift that? And he does. It's like a pretzel. And you think, oh my agony aunt, this man is very, very strong. And then you realize, and then we get talking on something else, and then we're doing something else, which is fine. His channel is Off the Grid Network. And you'll see there's a lot of my stuff on there where I'm talking about vampires and all sorts of weird things.
Oh, well, we can talk about that. Like I told you, we're never going to run out of things to talk about. Just for a little bit here, Azria put, thank you, Beverly. It was an absolute pleasure doing his session. His energy is so wonderful. He's some special things there, including one of you, and you didn't release it, and it's not meant to be released, but you got his real name. Name, because and nobody talked about his real name. So with Big Homie, for people that didn't know who he was, because I didn't know, I'd heard the name. He used to be, as I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, used to be a professional NFL football player, I believe. And then he went into the personal security world.
High value individual and celebrity, both male and female personal protection. And he has his own company, and that's what he does. But also there's a side to Big Homie CC that people don't realize, is he's extremely religious, and he's a man of God, prays every day, but he's also got a contract with the Vatican because he is the one who protects the groups of exorcist priests and cardinals that travel around the world.
I did not know that. And are we open to say the phone call that he got after Pierce's?
Yeah, you can say the phone call. Absolutely, go ahead.
So Beverly told me before the show started, after Big Homie CC, it would have been probably 3 days ago, because I watched the interview yesterday, I think, and it was 2 days old. It's the latest one on Pierce Morgan. He got a call from the U.S. president. I won't say his name, starts with a T. We're not getting into politics. Nobody get mad or angry or anything here. We're just sharing the fact that he got a personal phone call from the president of the U.S., and you can complete it, Beverly, because I don't want to miss anything. What the call was about.
And basically, he got a phone call from that person, and that person had said that he was really pleased that he'd gone on the Pierce show, but more importantly, that he had said that he was very happy about all the work we're doing, because also he had said before that he was going to provide some of the monies that's needed in order to free these children. Because, we do ask charities, but he did say that there was an opportunity to provide this, I wouldn't say it's ransom money, but it's like freedom money that you have to pay, because
freedom money.
these children are, the last case we worked on, there was a very high value put on this young girl, this young, very, very young girl. And we were battling to get the money together. And basically that office in the Oval Office provided a lot of the money.
Oh my God, I feel tears right now, because I really am very, very passionate about this. I don't understand how anybody could hurt. I've never hit another soul on the planet. I never have raised, I always say keep your hands to yourself. It should be that way. I know it's not, or to animals, especially, innocent people. And I'm so glad you're doing this line of work. But you mentioned something about vampires. Can we talk a bit about that? Because people think that's mythology and legend and lore. I'd love to hear.
I really wish that they were. I really wish they were, because, unfortunately, during thanks, Kate, during the 9-year stint, we used to have a feeding regime, and this is common even in New Orleans as well. In New Orleans, they follow the same the same feeding regime. Every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, there'll be a group of folks that go to the location, and they take with them those that have agreed to be bitten and to do a feed. Not all the feeds, but a feed. This is very common. So we used to have to go to this particular house, and because I was only a child at the time, it was never anything difficult. You're going into the house, you've got your dolly and you've got your teddy, and you're going in the house, and for all intents and purposes, you're going there to have a play date, and that's it. And then I'd sit in the bay window and I'd watch. I'd be a watcher. I'd watch to see who's going up and down the road, and I'd play dolly, 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 teddy, 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 play, play, dance, dance. And in the background, what was happening is we used to take our lunchbox. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we used to take our lunchbox with us, because my handler said, there's no food in the property that we're going to. There's no food that we can eat. So we'll take a flask, we'll take our lunchbox, and we will go in the kitchen, and we take our tea with us. We'll make our tea, and we will go in the kitchen, and at a certain point, we'll go and have our tea. We'll close the door, and then we'll wait for them to finish feeding, and then, pack everything away. We'll come out, and then we'll take the ladies back with us, and then that'll be the feed will be over. And this was literally every couple of weeks. So it became like, it was a bit boring, really, because you come, you drop off, you go in the kitchen, you have your wee sandwich, your chicken and Marmite, or your chicken and Vegemite, or your whatever it is that you've got that happened to be in the fridge that day. He used to make it, or they used to make it, and pack it all up, and off you go. And it was taking about, I think we were in there for about an hour, maybe. Sometimes if it was difficult, and if the individuals suddenly changed their minds and became uncooperative, then my handler would go out and make sure that they cooperated. But, the interesting thing was the younger vamps, they have a substance in their saliva that when they lick, it becomes not only an analgesic, but it also puts everything to sleep. So it's like an anesthetic.
Oh, wow.
It numbs. It's like a major Novocaine shot.
Makes me think of a mosquito almost.
Yeah,
right?
In a way.
But saliva anesthetized, but this sounds like it's systemic, like the person becomes anesthetized almost, right?
Absolutely. And they can't fight. And then they become a bit like, they were always like, a bit spaced out and ever so happy. And, I don't know. For me, I just thought, because they used to get a bit wobbly and a bit like about floppy dollies, and a bit silly, really. As a child, you don't expect an adult to act like that. You expect an adult to be an adult. You don't expect them to be floppy dolly and be stupid. So, and then I'd come out of the kitchen, And then you'd see there was only ever maybe two, sometimes there was three, but mainly there were the main two in the two chairs in pitch dark. And you'd see them sort of, oh, you're so lovely, and they'd be lying, looking at them lovingly as if, and you think, and you don't think anything of it at that age. You kind of think,
Where do they come from? How do they make more?
How do they make more? Good question. They cut open this section on the chest. They pull the flesh back, and that is where new people that want to become like them. It escapes me why you would want to become like that. I really don't know, but they do, and they go into that known vampire's chest, and they partake of all of the liquids and all of the body juices and fluids, etc. And that is the start of it. But it's not what people think. It's not, in 3 days, you'll do the whole shake, and you'll grow your teeth. And it doesn't happen like that. It takes a year. It takes a year, sometimes longer. And you've got to be then in a secure environment. You've got to be in the dark. And because it is like having a really bad flu or a really bad cold.
Yeah.
Where that stuff of the cold goes through your body, and it's got to go through, and it's got to change you at a cellular level, and that doesn't take 5 minutes, and it definitely doesn't take 3 days.
So where did they come from? Like, where did they start? Like, how did this, and then do they have to keep going back into the, say the alpha vampire who they're going into to have this metamorphosis every time? Do they have to go back in, or is it just with feeding on?
They do that the once. They They don't have to go back in, because it's I've never seen it ever. I've only ever been told how they were made. And then I was explained that it has to go through the whole of the body. And that's where the feeding comes in. And once that bug, we won't call it the other word because, YouTube will pick it up.
Yeah.
So the bug that's racing through your body, like flames in your veins, that then courses through your body, and it can take a full year. Not everybody survives it.
I would believe it. So
not everyone.
Lulabelle, that's funny. My mother used to call me that as a nickname, Lulabelle. She's asking about black magic, but I want to know, like, how did this start? Like, where did they come from? Did they come from another planet? Did they come from, the Middle Earth? Like, where did they come from?
Even I don't know exactly where they came from. I mean, there's lots of different ideas of where they came from. The sect that had me for the 9 years, they claimed, and I'm using the word claimed because it's alleged, because I don't know for sure. I'm remembering it was a child. They had said that they were created. Pretty much like we get that you can have a demon that is a human being that's demonized, and you can get a created one. And you can also get a birthed one. You can get one that is born.
A vampire that's born, or a demon that's born, or both?
You can get a demon that's born, and you can get a vamp that's born.
Oh, we got to talk about that. I got to know more.
So from that point of view, the sect that I was with believed that they were created. So I've got to go with that, because that's the only thing I know. I'm open to any discussions as to where possibly it could have come from, because it could be any of them. So from that point of view, you kind of, you've got to feed them, you've got to do that. It becomes like really drudging and terrible, and you just think,
who feeds them now? Are they still being fed? Because before you answer that, so Joe Montaldo, who owns this network, we got to give him a huge shout out. He lives in New Orleans, and he's got that good old boy Cajun accent. He's a real sweetheart. But so I've asked him before, because it's a restaurant, I believe, called Antoine's in the French Quarter. I've never been to New Orleans, but he said,
is that the one that looks like a house that's got beautiful furniture and looks like,
if Joe's in the background, he'll pop on here because he broadcasts out of his house. So I'll have to ask him, because he says the rumor is, and I believe it's Antoine's, where there's all these portraits of the owners for well over 100 years, and they all look the same. They just have a different, like, they're with the times, like photographing whatever, and he's still there, this owner, and the rumor is he's a vampire.
Yeah, well, he could have been one of the ones that was created. I mean, I don't know the story, but I do know. I've never been to New Orleans before, and I would imagine it would be quite something to go to. I would be a bit worried in there because I would probably find, because I know them too well and because I've taken care of them for many years, my worry would be that because they do leave a scent, and I have been told by my handler that the scent is there and you cannot get rid of it. So there is a mark. There is a mark of the vamps that is there. And if you are a caregiver, which I would have been marked as a caregiver, can't get rid of that scent. They would know me
By
as
scent.
one of their servants that look after them. And I don't really think I want to be scrubbing floors and finding bugs and going and finding their next feed for them. No, thank you. Did that for 9 years. Don't really want to do that again. But yeah, I do believe that there are a lot of them in that area. And I do know factually that at the time when I was, doing my 9 years, that there was visiting folks from Americas, from New Orleans, not just New Orleans, but other areas across America too, that they had started taking part in, as well as France, as well as other countries, even as far away as Russia. So they had all sorts of people that had been smuggled into the country and were being taken care of. I do know that some of the voodoo places across the New Orleans area, they are caretakers as well.
You gotta wonder what their purpose is if they were created. Plus, the other thing I was going to say, a previous co-host of mine when I used to be on a previous network, same name of the show. I didn't know what I was doing when I got asked to start podcasting, and I did my show Monday through Friday. Don't ask me how I did. Love her dearly. Now, I don't know if she still identifies this way, but she did. She was part of the vampire culture, not like I want to be a Edward fan from Twilight or something. And I remember we had something called a spookathon. So we did 84 hours of live radio with all the hosts over Halloween. And her guest canceled. And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do, because we had 3-hour spots. They said, hello, you have a built-in person. So I think that interview is still on YouTube. We dressed up in these horrible makeup costumes because we only had an hour, tried to do makeup. And I never asked her because I figured if she wanted to tell me, she would tell me. So I asked her about, why do you identify as a vampire? What does that entail? And it certainly wasn't with what you're sharing. And I believe you with what you're sharing. And I believe what she was doing, maybe in their version of who they hung around with, meant vampire, because there's energy vampires too, right? There's many forms of
there is, and that's part of it. They start with that, but then you get the sanguines, they have taken that ritual to a different level. They have built in, and this is a new ritual. I think it's about 400 or 500 years old. It's not that old, and it is a sanguine, which means that they do partake of human blood, but it's under specific, very controlled environment, and they do offerings, and they do what we would call a type of prayer, and it is what they do, but it's extremely private. They don't allow other people into these sessions that they have. They're very careful. They do a lot of, testing. They test for all the usual, naughty things that are carried in a person's blood. And generally, it's something that takes place between people that are committed to each other. And I know that does take place. But I will say that those individuals don't grow teeth.
Because she didn't have teeth. Because I asked her, I asked her every question that people have either asked me or I've come up with, including she didn't have the teeth, and she explained it was more or less, if memory serves me right, this is quite a few years ago, that it was more or less between two individuals. Again, all the testing had been done, and it was more or less like in an intimate situation, the two of them. Yeah, so that's almost sounds like what she was maybe a part of at one time. I don't know.
Yeah, and then they do the neck, but then they also do the inner thigh, which is why, you know, when you participate in that sort of thing down that area, we'll leave it at that. You know, there is a very large section there that does pulsate, and if you bite into that, there's a certain type of bloodletting that would take a place rather quickly, and that is the secondary level. The ones that we had to look after for those 9 years as caretakers, as feeders, were the ones that were growing teeth, that had to stay out of the sunlight, completely stay out of the sunlight.
And why was that, Beverly? What did they tell you why?
They said that because of the changes that were happening in their bodies, that they would get rashes, especially if they were still going through that change in that year.
Right.
They're going through the change. Their skin would become very, very thin, very sensitive to light, and then they would get these terrible rashes and come up with these terrible little blisters everywhere. It was really awful. So they used to stay, and everything in the house, upstairs and downstairs, was completely blackened out. They're blackened blinds, black curtains, completely closed. There was absolutely no light anywhere.
Wow.
And the most we were allowed was a tiny weenie in those days, a little tiny weenie little torch, quite useless actually, but a little torch so that you could see where you were going. And it reeked. It stank. It stank of, it was not even rotten eggs. You could tell it was like rotting flesh. It was stinky. It really was. And we just went straight through the front room, which is the lounge, straight through the front room into the kitchen at the back, and go straight through and get our lunchbox, get our tea done. And then I was basically banned to the kitchen while everything else was going on. And if there was a commotion, because I like asking questions and I like to see what's going on.
As you can see, I'm just like glued. I'm listening to every word.
It's a Leo thing. I think it's the cat in me that says, you know, curiosity killed the cat.
I'm going to add this quickly. Carrie, just hold that thought. Carrie Lynn says, Lorilei, we need Wayne Mallows in on this. So our network station manager, Michelle DeRoche, her partner writes about vampires and things like this. His name is Wayne Mallows. But go on, please. I am like just glued to this because I'm.
Well, Wayne might not know of the caregivers. He might not know of us lot. Because I don't think anyone has ever spoken out, because literally under pain of severe punishment. And, you know, and they don't turn into bats. I will tell you that for sure. They do not turn into bats. But I will tell you that during the 9 years, there was one that didn't make it. And I can tell you, he decomposed faster than I'd ever seen anything decomposed in my entire life.
Wow. So what happens? So it sounds like they're there to have the metamorphosis, or do they just go through the metamorphosis and they stay there, or after they have the change, do they leave? Like, that's because you were there long enough.
They leave. So sometimes when they were getting ready to leave, you know, you would do the last feed, and then the handler would be told, next time we've got a new convert coming. You need to bring this age group, and, you know, expect a few problems, shall we say, because they can get a bit doolally, and they can get a bit forceful and aggressive and all sorts of things. So they would then be shipped, and they would be taken in a box, and that would be it. They would be taken in a box, and they would be taken with the groups that allow shipping from one place to the next. They would be given their last feed. They would then go to sleep, and they would wake up in whatever country they had chosen to go to.
So then there are people then, like, once they've metamorphosized and they've ended up in whatever country, they still got to feed, right? Like, so are they choosing humans? Can they live on animal blood if they wanted to? Like,
they could if they wanted to, but the amount of animals they require is way too much. It's not sustainable. But remember, us, the caregivers, the ones that are looking after them, they are everywhere. it's not just my lot that did it. It's, every country around the world, no matter what country it is, has got the feeders, has got those that will go and get what they need. And I'm telling you, willingly. This is not people
How do
pick.
you even sign up for that? Like, oh, I want to be a feeder for a metamorphosizing to be vampire. I sign up. Like, how do you find them?
Yeah, well, I can tell you how to find them, but you have to, everything else that you would have to agree to, I don't think you'd want that.
Well, I don't want to do it. God, no.
No,
Like,
I
how
don't
do
think
you
anyone would want
understand
it.
that we need a show on this, just this topic?
Yeah, and the other thing is, that males cannot feed off males.
Interesting.
Females cannot feed off females. It does not happen.
Wow. Do you think it's the hormones? Maybe that's the only thing.
It's the hormones. It has to be the same, and that this is it. And also, they do not take more than they need. So this idea that they will take and take and take until the person is completely drained, generally they don't do that during a feeding cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Unless someone's ordered a hit on someone, and then they will pounce on that person, and then everybody will have a good go.
Oh, I just had a horrible thought. I don't even want to think this. I just thought, good God. Well, he must have some knowledge of this stuff. I thought, big homie CC, what way to take out somebody that's not been able to be taken out? Could they unleash somebody like that? Like, my gosh.
Yeah, they could. But remember, big homie has also got personal experience of vamps.
I forgot you did. That's how we got on this conversation.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no. So, and he said to me, Bev, you've got to tell me. He doesn't call me Bev. He calls me Queenie. He says, Queenie, you've got to tell me what to do with this. And I've given him protection things, what to do, how to do it. He's got sigils. He's got the whole bang shoot. He makes sure that he eats a lot of cinnamon because they don't like cinnamon. And he has a lot of salt around him. Garlic doesn't work, by the way. That's a wholly weird. That's really sheer nonsense.
That's why I'm asking all these questions. So please continue, please.
So, and then also they're very picky. There's tainted blood, and the tainted blood would be those that have a particular type of illness. So porphyria is one of them. They don't like that. Infectious hepatitis, they don't like that because it tastes weird, funny. Mm-hmm. And we got into trouble a few times because there's somebody that had infectious hep, and anything that has got the C word associated with it, they don't like that either. So they'll spit that out, and then you get into a whole heap of trouble because you brought someone that's got that. And I must say, the person that they spat out was quite a surprise because even my handler did not know, and she didn't know either, that she had the big C. So that was a bit of a surprise. So that was a bit of a crazy time because then he had to go quickly and say, we can't use that one. We need to take someone back. And he went then back on his own the next day with the big little Morris Minor, the navy blue one, and go chugging down the road, take that one back, do swapsies because you had to go back the next day because that particular new vamp couldn't feed.
What a way to get diagnosed, right? A vampire.
Oh, that was awful.
She didn't even know. I think cancer.
No, she didn't know. So that was a bit, there's also this funny little anecdotes like that, and luckily because I was a child, they weren't interested in me because they were males.
I was wondering that too. Like, how were you saved?
Too young.
Never mind that it was normalized. Like for you as a child, I know you had anything but a normal childhood, but still.
I didn't have a normal childhood.
The vampires. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, well, I was too young, remember, and I was only doing that work up until I turned 13. Wow. And then after that, I never went back.
Maybe they knew that past the age of 13, you might not have been as safe. Well, if you could call it safe, but you would have.
No, and I wouldn't have been safe because I'd already started my moon cycle. Mm-hmm. So definitely not. So the moon cycle, you would be going absolutely nowhere near them at that time.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, nowhere near.
All the
So
hormones.
there's that, and also because 13, your hormones are kicking in, and it's not safe. When you're little, then that's fine, because you don't really take in what you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah.
You don't really understand what's happening. You very rarely spoke to them. They just used to look at you, and you just used to look back and then walk to the kitchen and go and get your lunchbox and get your tea out and then sit on the chair and wait. And then get the swing door come open. And if you saw anything, it's pitch black in there anyway, and the stink is up your nose. And I used to say, it stinks. It stinks.
Yeah. Oh my Lord.
So he used to say, put camo. It's like a camo.
That camphor.
Yeah. Put it here. And the other trick he did, he used to give me Vaseline, and he used to put a line of Vaseline on my nose at the top here.
Oh, why for that?
It stops the stink.
I've never heard that, because working in the nursing field, obviously, I worked quite a bit in death and dying and critical care and things like that. And you see and smell all kinds of things. But I do know that when autopsies and things are done, that they have suggested that you use the camphor or Vicks.
Or Vicks.
Right. But for people, never heard that one on the top of your nose.
Well, it does work, because also I used to get that stink used to make I know it sounds ridiculous, but it used to make my nose run, because it was really stinky.
Because your body's getting rid of the smell, because it goes into your pores, that kind of smell.
And it goes in your throat, and you just want to gag. It is the most stinkiest thing I've ever, I'm quite good, because when I go to a murder scene or something, I can always smell them like immediately, and I get it in my throat. It's one of those stinks that once you've smelt that stink, you will never, ever forget that stink ever again. And I can tell you by the smell of the stink, I can tell you what animal it is, if it's rodent, if it's a rather large beast like a cow or a heifer or a horse or something like that. And I can tell you if it's human.
So once they're out and about, can you tell the difference? Like if you're walking down the street, could you tell if there was somebody that was a vampire? Is there, besides
there wouldn't be any in the day, definitely not. But if I was out at night in an area, I can usually smell them. They stink.
But they look the same as us once they've had the transformation then, right?
They look the same, but they are translucent. If you look at their skin, if you look at the skin, where we've got this powdery skin where you can see the corpuscles underneath our skin, you can see we've got real blood. They don't. They look see-through.
Wow. We are only got a few minutes left. Beverli, I can't wait to have you back on. I know everybody has loved hearing you. See, I told you we wouldn't be at a shortage to talk. There's so many things I want to ask. But how do people, we didn't even get a chance to talk about your new book. We got a minute or two. Can you tell them about the new book that's coming and where to get your books, where to find you, everything?
They're all on Amazon. So the new book is called is going to be called Next Level Disclosure, and it's called Next Level Disclosure Earth School. And that's going into all of the detail, absolutely every little tiny witty bitty, everything about the encounter, 60 years ago when I met Da'a on the craft, when I was 3, and, the training, what I saw, spending 3 tours off this earth for the 20 years and return, which is 20 years off planet, come back, be aged, regressed back to the age that you are, and then come back. So theoretically, I am 100 and, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120 years old.
Oh, wow. We got to hear that whole story. Like I said, there's so much to talk about. I am so glad that you came tonight. Can you remind people again your website, like for your remote viewing group? Because I am signed up with your group. I just didn't know when you met, but how do you guys get
Fridays? That's Fridays. It's every Friday.
Okay.
It's a fun group, and we do a lot of work. And it's 8:00 UK time, GMT. And then you send an email to Remote Viewing Alliance, all one word, at gmail.com, and then just say, I'd like to just participate and just come and have some fun, meet everybody else. And whoever comes on, comes on. At about 8:30, I kind of lock it, because then we're busy with our meditation and we're busy doing stuff. So I close it then. So if you don't get there on time, I kind of close it. And we've started a new case, and we started that last week. So we had 19 people working with us last week. So thank you to all the volunteers last week who worked on the case. And it's a little boy that we're looking for. He's 2 years old. He's a little tiny one. He's so cute. So we're working on that, and we get cases coming in all the time. And as I said, if you have a case, you can send it there as well. We do all our checks. We do need to know what agency we have to get in touch with, but we don't take any cases other than children, looking for children.
I'm so glad, and I thank you so much. We are having Beverli back on, because she was booked to be here in August, and somebody wasn't able to come tonight. And I reached out. I was going to hit up Azria, but Azria is going on Carrie Lynn's show, and I thought I wanted to go on Carrie Lynn's show first, and because she's coming on in July. But we're going to keep that date, you guys. So Azria, you haven't met her yet. You're going to love her. And Beverli,
the lady in pink.
Yeah, and I've got purple.
You got purple? Yeah.
Yeah, and Beverli's coming back. You guys stay tuned, because Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron are up next with the Light Gate. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/The Angel Rock right now. I'm working on putting out my new course with one of my best friends. They'll be on at the beginning of June. Leanne Clark. She's the Crystal Architect on Instagram and Facebook. And then I hope to have a domain name. I'm also on every social media platform under the name either The Angel Rock or Lorilei Potvin. I have 2 groups on Facebook: Paranormal University for all things paranormal, The Angel Rocker Tribe for more things spiritual. And don't forget, you guys, please stay tuned, because on Thursday, Carrie Lynn Shellhorn and I, who co-host Beneath the Hollow Moon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be talking about banshees and death omens. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much. Thank you, Beverli. Hang tight for 1 sec. Much love to all of you, and we'll see you on Thursday.